Yeah, that's kind of the plan.
Hey, Gerren, can you hear me?
Steve?
How are you?
Yes, I can.
Sent Matthew the link. Is he? Did he get it yet? Can you double check with him?
Yeah.
I have a writer and a director, award-winning director, here with me in my studio. I wanted to pull them in.
Oh, fantastic.
So they have valuable expertise they could throw into the mix. So let me Ty, why don't you swing around here outside? So let me Tara, why don't you swing around here outside? Okay, so we're live, so that works. That's good.
Wonderful. How we doing, fellas?
What's up, man? Nice to see you. Meet you.
I met Gerren, what was it, like 5-6 years ago now?
Yes, 2016 at the Los Angeles 48-hour film project.
Yeah, you had a team, and I was doing red carpet, right? Did I have a film in that year?
If you did, it wasn't in my screening group.
Okay, I think I was sponsoring the red carpet.
Yes, yeah, from what I recall, yes. And a fun fact about that particular red carpet, it was on my birthday.
Ah, I remember that. You had a big ass crew, if my memory serves me right.
Yeah, we actually almost set the record for the LA of having the biggest team for a 48. We had about 38 people on our team, and from that 38, about 27 of them showed up to the screening.
I remember that. Yep. No, I didn't have a film in that year. I was sponsoring the red carpet because I remember interviewing you and your team. And yeah, it was fun. That was a fun year.
Yeah, 2016. Yeah, it was definitely in my opinion, a very successful year 48-hour wise for us because we ended up winning for the San Diego one that year, which that was our first official win.
Okay, so I'm going to send Matthew another invite in case he.
Yeah, I just sent him a second one too.
You just sent him one?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll wait, see.
And my man in the yellow jacket, you look a lot like Steve McQueen.
He's not as pretty as me. Knock it off.
Yeah, I was rewatching some of the old Oscars and just watching Steve McQueen's speech when they won in 2013. I mean, yeah, that was just such a great speech.
He is killing it right now. Like in the UK, what he's putting out, he is killing it right now. Everybody,
oh yeah,
everybody's asking for his expertise, his opinion. putting him on projects, and he's making really great stuff. Really great stuff.
Yeah, I would love the chance to work with him.
So let me go around and introduce you everybody real quick. This young man right here is our in-house writer. He's writing a science fiction series that we want to make into a TV show, a web series, and even maybe even do like a film with one of them. So he's got several projects on the slate, and that's what we're deciding today is what we want to do for TV, what we want to do for a web series, and what we want to do as a film project and circulate on the film festivals. So this is Corey Ramsey, a writer.
Hey, glad to meet you, Corey.
Nice to meet you.
And then we have over here, we have Ty, who's a producer, writer, director, actor, and we work on several different projects together. We've got an animated series we've worked on as voiceover talent. We've got several independent film projects that we're working on, and then we are bringing Corey's writings to life by producing and directing his slate of work. So we are the three amigos, and we're here at the studio. And I don't think I gave you a tour yet, but I can give you a tour a little bit later once we're done chopping it up here.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
But
Ty, glad to meet you.
Nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
nice to meet you guys, everybody.
yeah, welcome to the club.
Gentlemen.
Thank you. Hey, Jay.
How we doing?
Hey, welcome, man. Thanks for being here.
I
Jay,
am.
Jay, you traded places with me today.
Yeah, right. Like we swapped spots today. Now I'm with it.
Yeah, because good old Maddie threw me under the bus saying, "Kieran, don't be in your usual office of the car."
I'm on the fly today. My apologies. I'm actually gonna be touching down back home in a minute so I can settle in.
All good.
Moving to a new place, all kinds of crazy stuff. But thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And thank you guys for taking the time and having us all hop on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, I've been trying to do something with Jared for almost a year now, and Gerren, I'm sorry. And so this is kind of the starter kit for getting together, and at least we can get a podcast series go, talk film, talk ideas, and I basically want to kind of highlight you guys on the Pod Brother Nation ecosystem, because I know you guys are doing some pretty cool, exciting projects down in San Diego. You got access to a lot of talent and locations and resource. So I always want to try to pull guys like you into the mix, because with what we're doing here at Dream Magic Studios, we're also looking for crew and talent and resource and people we can pull into our slate of projects as well. So
Nice.
I kind of saw this as a multi-collaborative podcast, which, by the way, we're live. So anybody who's watching this right now can learn how two teams of collaborators collaborate together to maybe even build a bigger ecosystem and putting content up and on the screen.
Yeah.
So we've got three of us here at Dream Magic Studios, and we got the four of you guys there down in San Diego. So this is the type of stuff that I like to do to build my army. And I also talked to Gerren about finding some land down there that we can do a pop-up drive-in movie theater where we can show both your content and our content.
Love it. Yeah.
And we can make money on that. If it's a big enough lot or field where we could get 1,000 cars on there, $50 a car, do the math. We can make a little bit of change.
Yeah, definitely. And it would be really nice just to the pandemic of all the amazing things that we can share that we haven't been able to share in quite some time. The movies, of course, for me has been number one on the list, and getting people back to a theater, even drive-in, is an amazing opportunity, I think. And we really share, all of us on our neighborhood watch team, we really share an excitement for cinema and for whenever possible seeing it projected on the big screen. So that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. So now you guys, is this a full-length feature film that you're working on, Neighborhood Watch?
Yeah, it's a feature film. For those who are not familiar with, it's a project that's been in development for quite some time, and it's a really exciting time for our team right now because we have been working on a crowdfund campaign, which is the kind of startup to getting our foot in the door with some of these major companies that are interested in the project and interested in financing. So it's feature film, and we're manifesting to be shooting in the summer. So.
Oh, that's cool. So you're looking to start shooting this bad boy this summer. What's your shoot days? Is this like a 21-day shoot, or are you looking to do the whole summer? Are you going to kind of piecemeal it together, or are you going to try to get it all in the can at once?
Well, note I said manifesting. So what I meant by that was we are waiting for, once the financiers get involved and kind of put together casting and scheduling and things like that, then we'll know for sure what dates we're slated for. So we don't know right now, but we're optimistic and hopeful for the summer, hopefully for July. And yes, we'd be shooting all at once. So it would be approximately a month worth of shooting all at once and getting it all in the can.
Well, that's cool. And you got all of your locations and a lot of your pre-production in order, or you still you still have to work on that a little bit.
Yeah. So the pre-production is right now it's at a really exciting stage where all of the shot list, the storyboards, all of the preparations, the script itself, all of those things are ready to go. So we could literally just roll camera in terms of all of those aspects of the visuals. The locations we are still figuring out because that depends on where we will be shooting. Ideally, if we're shooting in San Diego, would be amazing because that's really where the story takes place. But for tax reasons, we might be shooting in a different state or different city. So those are things to keep in mind in terms of location. So that kind of stuff will come more kind of from the financiers once we figure out those elements. But everything else is pretty ready to go.
Do you have your production manager in place?
Yeah, actually, Jay and Gerren, if you guys want to field some of these, because so I don't keep hopping in there. Yeah.
Sure. So as a team, it's myself, Matt Stoner. We have I'm sorry, I'm losing can't think of the term. Our creative producer is Boss Logic out of Australia. He's probably one of the bigger names in both graphic design and an NFT art currently. So he's quite swamped with that. But we've comprised our team out of myself, Gerren, Matt Stoner, Boss, and then we're actually working with a couple of other influencers in the 1.2 million range who all have like social justice backgrounds, things of that nature to pull together the core of our team.
Well, that's cool. So as far as like your production manager, do you have a specific person or team who's just going to focus on the production managing part of your project? That's basically the person who handles all the logistics of every single detail you're going to need from soup to nuts, A to Z. Do you have a designated person?
Sure. Well, we currently have Matt doing a lot of that legwork. However, that's also gonna change probably once we figure things out with the financiers themselves, because our goal is to always keep pushing up to that next rung. So, say if we're in the indie range right now, and say we get this in front of Warner Brothers by faith and good luck and manifestation, that entire structure might change. One of the things that I've accepted inside the structure is our roles may change a bit themselves too. So we haven't really set anybody down on the production manager side. simply because the route that we're particularly picking to do this, rather than saying just showing up with the screenplay and doing this through Bonded, Buffalo 8, hopefully, it'll kind of change what we can do, but not necessarily changing so much of like what we do creatively, but they might have a guy in mind, you know?
Right. Do you have, and depending on who you are, different projects, different people, they kind of call it 3 different things. So I'm gonna use all 3 terms so you understand what I'm talking about. In pre-production, you have a deck and or an executive summary and or a Bible about your project, which is what you use to explain to your financiers,
For sure, show Bible.
your distributor, your celebrities that you want to get attached to your project. Do you guys have anything like that? An executive summary or a deck or something that you, okay, here's our project. We want you to be attached to it. We want your money. We want to use your facility. Take a look at this. It's all in there, what we're doing. And we want you to be a part of our team. Do you have anything like that, like a deck?
Yeah. So we have the whole production package. The whole deck is all solidified, and that's actually what the folks over at Bonda and Buffalo 8 have been looking at. They've been seeing the ideas for for cast, ideas for the visual style of the piece, the projected budget, all of those different aspects. And really what we're trying to do right now, we have this week and next week are our final 2 weeks of our crowdfunding campaign, and it's going amazingly. Our fans have been incredibly supportive. We're right now in the $5,000 range out of a total of 10,000. And the idea is we would then be taking all of those materials that we have. We've got the pitch package with all of those aspects that you just mentioned. We've got the storyboards, the shot lists, all of the things for like the vision of the film, the directing style on my end, what's my mission statement for that. All of those things are ready to go. And then they're going to take those elements and just put a slightly more Hollywood sheen on them, so should we say. They're going to take those, the package and all the details we've put together and put them all in a professional package. And then they're going to take that and bring it to potential distributors, potential other companies, and get the meetings going so that we can get the green light.
Do you have a wish list of celebrity attachments? Like if money and logistics were no issue. So let's say just by dumb luck, we've got some people watching this show right now or later, and they hear that you want to have somebody attached to it and it happens to be their uncle or their niece or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a, like if there were no issues and you would want to attach some A-listers or even some B-listers that you just happen to love, who would they be?
That's a really good question. I'm actually going to pull up my list right now. I want to precurse it though, just by saying that the incredible actors who did the work in the trailer, that is, if you go to the crowdfund campaign, you can see the trailer. They were so incredible. They brought these characters to life. After years of writing them, it felt like they were just leaping from the page. So those actors who portrayed the characters in the trailer did such an astounding job. I would love to work with them again. But if it comes down to a situation where, because of money, they're looking more at, we want to put, these name actors in there for, bringing in a bigger audience, all those things. Then I do have a list of that as well. You guys, do you have some ideas you wanted to throw in there? I know I have a long wish list, but
for sure. I mean, out of our main list, some of the things that catch me the most, obviously having Tom Hardy as the Giant, as our lead villain. That would be that would just be a dream. Sterling Brown playing the activist and deceased professor. I think that would be huge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've had eyes on Lupita Nyong'o, Finn Wolfhard from Stranger Things. We definitely know what we have in mind if we can have our A-list, our non-list. We definitely have more of a for the kids, more of what you would expect from like a more mature Stranger Things crowd. But for the adults, like it's definitely we're going B to A hardcore because these are the people that are going to solidify some of the darker characters and some of the people that create like a deeper picture of what we're trying to portray. And also, you don't ever really get to see Tom Hardy be the kind of bad guy that we want him to be. You know?
Yeah, I was gonna jump in there with what you said there, Jay, about Tom Hardy. So our, for those who don't know anything about our movie, it's about these kids who realize that the KKK is in their neighborhood and they're committing these hate crimes, and we as storytellers we're taking that very seriously and trying to tap into telling a timely tale of what's happening right now. And at the same time, the kids, they're just kids out of high school, so they view things from a more idealistic lens, and they think of the KKK as costumed villains. So their conclusion is, well, where are all the costumed heroes? Why don't we go out there and become vigilantes? Because no one seems to be doing anything. Why don't we go out there and try to stop them? So when Jay mentions Tom Hardy, he's specifically referencing the Grand Giant, the leader of the local KKK. And we were, talking about some different ideas for that character, and we were like, oh wow, well, Tom Hardy, is obviously iconic in anything he does, but he also has that comic book lineage with Bane, as a hulking masked evil villain. But we thought this would be a very different role, for him to play a character who is a racist and who is, all of those awful qualities of the guy. But then because he's Tom Hardy and he's such an amazing actor, he could bring nuance to it, and not just make it a cartoon villain. So that was one of the reasons we thought of him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always ask that question to my filmmakers because ultimately, if you haven't really thought about that and somebody with some money or access asks that and you don't have names, sometimes it can be a deal killer.
Mm-hmm.
Because they bring, A-list to the table, and because they have an A-lister, they can bring money to the table. So
exactly,
you and vice versa. You can get A-listers with money, and you can get money with A-listers. So
yeah,
it's one of those questions I always ask. So I'm glad you guys had answers prepared for that.
Yes, and I wanted to throw out there Christoph Waltz as one of the characters is another guy we've been banding about as the professor.
Oh, as the professor! Oh my God. That would be grand.
That would be a bingo.
That would be great.
So have you thought about a wish list of festivals that you might want to hit, like your top 12, say, for an example, and you've actually given it some thought and some dialogue and
yes,
put together some, possible tangible strategies on what you would do if you got selected in those festivals? Like, so what are some of the festivals you're thinking about putting your film in?
Yeah, so we've been looking at, we kind of have it broken up into major film festivals and then, secondary film festivals. So we kind of have a list broken up that way. And of course, it's a lot of that is also contingent upon when the financing comes in, because that affects, that affects the schedule, obviously. But on our major film festivals wish list here, we have Sundance, of course. We have Toronto, South by Southwest, Tribeca, Telluride, Venice, Berlin, Cannes, and then on secondary we have Slamdance, Raindance, Hollywood, Real Independent, Atlanta, of course San Diego, represent, because that's where our story takes place. So we'd also be looking at the San Diego International Film Festival, and there's a great festival here called San Diego Film Week. Shout out to Jody Seeley out there. She's really huge into uniting people in San Diego to show that there's a community of filmmakers out here that are doing really interesting work. So she does really great stuff showcasing and with her festival, San Diego Film Week. and then there's Newport Beach and Dances with Films, just to name a few. Did I miss any of you guys? Or did you have some different
No,
ones?
that's yeah.
No, that's pretty concrete.
That's a great wish list. You guys are reaching for the top. That's good. Do you have any questions for my my collaborators here? Is there anything that you want to ask as far as some ideas?
I'll ask a question. This one's for Corey. What would you describe as your favorite genre of writing when you're writing a screenplay? What's your favorite genre?
You mean what I like to write best or what I like to read?
What you like to write best?
It's really gotten into unexpected stuff. So I'm really into Richard Matheson. So I've patterned a lot of my writing off of him with twists and turns at the very end of a story. So now I've gotten into the short story genre, and I've written 3 books, working on a 4th called Tales of the Unexpected.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So just fielding the room, do you guys have a lot of experience in the hero genre specifically? My background is more geared towards pop culture, comics, cosplay, that whole thing. Not to mention being tapped in on the social justice side as well. So those are the kind of elements I like that I'd like to bring to the project. And seeing how we're all swirling in here, I just want to know, some of you guys' favorite hero storylines or things like that.
Yeah, that's. Mind me jumping in on that? Okay. Yeah, I would say my favorite hero storyline would have to be DC's Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Nice.
You guys are familiar with that?
For sure.
I read that when I was a kid, and so the science fiction story that I just worked on and completed, rather, and I've given it to Ty to look at it. It's called Opportunist Deaths, and it's sort of a world-shattering type of event that takes place. Well, it starts out on Earth, coincidentally in San Diego, but then it expands, and the longer it goes, you find out there's all these different layers. And so a lot of my story, and when Ty finishes it, he'll get to see that, oh yeah, I can see where you took a lot from, the Anti-Monitor and, the different worlds and everything. It had a big influence on me. That's number one. And then number 2 would be Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, great.
All of his storylines, like all of its iterations of the League, had a huge impact on me as well.
Those are some great, exciting choices there. That's awesome. Yeah, who can forget the the epic cover of Crisis with Superman and Supergirl? It's great.
Like, yes,
that it's great you bring that up too, because actually one of the stylistic choices that I'm working on as a director in this film is starting it from a place of complete and utter realism, right? And this could be happening in your backyard, and giving it that kind of quality. And as the story goes on, it subtly becomes more of a superhero story. And by the time we get to the climax, even though it all still is very real, there are certain shots that are meant to look like panels from a comic book. So there will be moments like Crisis, there's a shot that looks like that, or like there's a shot that looks like in The Killing Joke by Alan Moore, when he shoots Barbara and she falls over on the glass table. There's a moment like that. So just little things like that, for us hardcore comic book nerds to notice.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll notice it. I'll be looking for it.
Yeah, I would say Death in the Family is a good one.
Oh, that's great.
Injustice, where you get to see Superman be a prick. I really enjoyed that. And Brian Michael Bendis, when he created a version of Superman who realized what it's like to be human, and he has all this power. So what would that look like had he not stayed kind of humble? Like when he actually realized what he could do and how he could take over the world and how he could control. Like he started killing superheroes just because he could, because he didn't want competition for himself, right? So it was just like human nature took over everything. So I was like, man, that's great. I like looking at the anti-hero, and I like writing scripts to where everybody's right from their perspective. So like if you look at something from the Joker's perspective, you can really understand like his argument for what he's doing. And he actually is right to a degree. So like if him and Batman are having a discussion, they're both right. And that's where the conflict comes. Because the only difference between them is what side they chose to be on.
Right.
Like Batman could easily be the Joker and the Joker could easily be Batman. Like for sure. So a lot of this stuff, when I'm filming, I try and come from that perspective where it's like, I want audience members watching it to feel conflicted, to feel like, man, I really get his point. I don't want to agree with it, but he's kind of right. Like that type of thing. That's where I think you get the most bang for your buck, to where you get audiences to really feel something. And that's why like a lot of good comic books still stand the test of time, because the story is so great. Like these tropes throughout stories, people still use them. And these stories are from like the 30s, 40s, and 50s. You know, so it's that type of deal when it comes to heroes and filmmaking for me. Like I just love the human aspect of it. Anybody can be awesome on a great day with a lot of superpowers. What do you like when your powers are down and you become more human?
Yeah.
Then you get to see what you really think and feel. That type of stuff.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. That's such an interesting analysis there, and I think that's why, like you said, comics have stood the test of time from the 30s all the way to now. We actually even have a character in our story who calls them modern American mythology, because it's like it really is our modern myth. So much of it is derived from comic books. That is our version of like what the Greeks had with their tales of the gods, right? And so much of it comes from, it's like a morality play in the comics. And like you said, when you can understand everyone's perspective, those are the most compelling stories, when it's not just, oh, Joker is evil and Batman is good and that's it. The simplicity of that, when you can see when you can still disagree, but you can understand the point of view of another character, that's the most interesting. And we're trying to, I think we're succeeding at that with Neighborhood Watch too. That the characters are, everyone kind of has their different piece. Everyone gets to speak their voice in the story, and it's the two best friends in the movie are kind of they find themselves at a divide, and a lot of the issues that they're arguing about are sort of issues that we are arguing about in American society today. But we want to kind of show it as not, oh, we're just agreeing with this character and this side is wrong. We want to see what do both sides have to say, and how can they learn from each other and learn to use the best of both of each other's perspectives. And ultimately that's why the story is really a story of hope, because they may become divided, but they find a way to sort of reunite with their beliefs. So I just found that really interesting what you said there about seeing everyone's perspective in the story.
Gentlemen, I'm having some tech issues. I think I'm gonna have to reload this.
Oh yeah, of course.
I will tie back with you shortly, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the one thing that I'm finding, like just even listening to it, right? And I'm like, man, and my mind is already working. Like, if I was gonna shoot this, where would I go with this? Like, that's the kind of stuff that like I think is important. Like what you're doing is something that can speak to a lot of people. Um, so even like I have something for like KKK, racism, these types of things, right?
Mhm.
Whereas if I looked at it from a KKK member's perspective,
Right.
I could really understand, okay, this is gonna sound, I gotta phrase this. I gotta phrase this right. So imagine, okay, the Earth is 1,000 years BC, right? And there's a group of people over there, and a different group of people over there, and a different people over there, right? So what is the goal of these groups? The goal of these groups is to survive, multiply, and flourish. That's the basic goal of these groups. Tribalism at its finest.
Right.
So how do you establish that? You can't establish that with other people interfering with what you're trying to do.
Right.
So just like in Britain where they fought to keep their bloodlines pure, it's kind of that same idealistic
Mhm.
version that got warped.
Right.
So with KKK members and white supremacists, obviously it's an extreme.
Yeah.
So it's a form of tribalism where they're trying to establish their tribe, keep their tribe together, and make sure their numbers don't dwindle, make sure they don't get their ideas infiltrated by outside forces, where they can stay true to what they believe without any other influences swaying them from their mission of prosperity. And that's essentially what KKK, racism, all this stuff is. Except you gotta add violence and like the extreme nature
Yes.
of things. But from an idealistic point, it's just that. It's just tribalism.
Yeah.
So when they come trying to express this tribalism to a person who's black or Asian or something, they're not gonna get it because the mindset's not the same. Because the black or Asian person is looking for unity and is looking for not like everyone, but they're looking for unity, inclusion, acceptance, understanding, like fair across the board. But if everything's fair, then it keeps this tribe from holding true to what they want.
Yeah.
So now they feel like fair is taking away from our chances to prosper and dominate. Because if everything's even, you can't dominate.
Right.
Like they want the mantle, the throne, and everything. So that's where the heads are clashing.
Yeah, that's really well said. It's just, it's interesting just, in doing that, like you said, doing the research into the point of view of, a point of view that you find morally reprehensible, right? But as a writer and as a director, you have to also not pass that judgment. You have to also write honestly and see what are they thinking, where are they coming from, and not write them as just a goofy villain, but actually give them their own motivations, as flawed as they might be, right, and as terrible as their actions might be. And so, like you said, so much of it comes from tribalism, and so much of that is really rooted in deep, I think, deep insecurities that about power, right? Like there's a fear of power being taken away or something being taken away from them, and we try to explore that in this movie too, where there's crimes that are happening in their nice little suburb. There's some car break-ins that are happening, and the Klan, that's why they form their group in the neighborhood, because they want to blame it all on people of color, as the Klan would want to do. And this is actually based on things that we're really seeing right now. Just a few weeks ago, actually, there was it was eerily almost exactly like something we filmed in the trailer, which is the Klan leaving flyers on suburban lawns and different areas in these neighborhoods, saying they are forming like a crime watch group, like neighborhood watch group. and they're basically saying they're looking out for their, their white neighbors, and they're looking, of course, they're looking to scapegoat anyone of color of being the perpetrators of the crimes that they're seeing in their neighborhood, right? So they're coming from that place of tribalism, and then they're able to then kind of tap into people who maybe don't consider themselves racist, but they're able to tap into other people's fears and anxieties. And because we're in such a place of divide, they try to use that for propaganda and get more people to recruit. And this has been, happening since, like you said, the beginning of time. But it's kind of crazy and surreal to see that it's happening still in a modern context. So we really wanted to explore that with how we portrayed the characters in the Klan. We wanted to make their ideology be based on what it really is in real life and make them feel like real people. And Gerren, I know you've had some interesting experience in that regard too, with your research into that world. Did you want to jump in there?
Yeah, I'll touch briefly on that. And there was also something that that Ty said earlier about the asserting the dominance kind of thing. And actually, Matt and I, we both played around with this idea. I want to say a little over a year and a half ago, about getting in touch with David Duke. Actually being able to interview him and ask him about some of the ideologies and some of the things that the Klan truly believes, especially when actually I remember even told Matt this. When he was writing that scene about talking about seeing the propaganda on the driveways, I took that and thought of it as, are they trying to clean up their image? Are they trying to, reevaluate what people have known about them for over 265 years? Like, are they still in the same organization, or have they reformed? Are they just strictly a group of just angry, deranged, or maybe even just of hopeful Caucasian males who just want to remind people that, hey, we're not, turning into the minority. We're not, we're not a lost cause anymore. We're still here, just not in the sense and not in the light that people have seen us, for over 200 plus years.
Yeah.
Or even another thing I could briefly touch on, when we were shooting a very, very early rendition of the trailer, I do remember about how difficult it was for some of our white performers to even get through the scene, because they were just so emotionally and morally, I want to say not necessarily embarrassed. They were just so moved by what was going on, and they weren't too keen on some of the subject matter, because it was some scary stuff that we were touching on.
Yeah.
And and to see that, that just further shows about the change we have going on in our country, and how some people, they've adapted to the change and they're wanting to be more part of the solution, more or less as part of the problem.
What do you hope your takeaway can be from the fans that are sitting in the movie theater, whether they are white supremacists or whether they are people of color or minorities? Everybody's going to have a takeaway. What do you hope your takeaway is going to be from white supremacists that are sitting in the audience? Is it to change their ways, or to maybe take a harder look at their ideals? Or is it for people of color to be motivated by anger, or motivated by hope? Or I don't want you guys to give away the ending of it, but what's the takeaway? If you've got the Grand Dragon sitting next to Pee-wee from the Black Panthers, what if they see your movie there, are they gonna be hugging and kissing, giving each other jobs, or they're gonna start fighting like halfway through the movie?
That's a really great question. Actually, there's the characters in the movie have this. There's a lot of meta stuff going on. So like the characters in the movie at a certain point kind of have the discussion that we want the audience to be having, which is what, like you said, what do we want people to take away from this? And the two our two main superhero characters. One of them is saying well, we want them, we want the Klan and awful people like them. We want racists to fear us. And then the other character is saying, what good is that going to do in the long run? Maybe instead we want people to find a way to question their beliefs and to find unity in some way. So you got these two superheroes coming from these two different moral perspectives, and we try not to judge either one of them as inherently right or wrong. We want the audience to find their own path to these answers, right? But the character who's coming from a hopeful perspective of spreading a message of hope, he actually references, there's this amazing, very interesting gentleman named Daryl Davis in real life. You guys maybe heard of this guy. He was a blues singer. He does a lot of TED Talks and inspirational speeches. And he talks really extensively. He's a Black gentleman who was doing a blues concert, and he was at a bar, and he started talking to this white guy, and the white guy starts commenting on, oh, this music's actually really good, but it turns into this discussion of where blues music and jazz came from. And Daryl Davis is educating the man who does not believe him that it's that music came from people of color, and he was like, oh no, and blah blah blah. And anyway, it turns into this thing where the guy just flat out admits that he is a member of the KKK, and Daryl Davis is like, oh, like, wait, is this guy joking? What's going on here? The guy literally pulls out a KKK card, like he's a card carrying member. And because they're at a bar and they're relaxed and they both like the same music, they end up still being okay to talk and to chill. And Daryl Davis ends up befriending the guy. And he actually becomes such a close friend with him that he makes him question his point of view about people of color, and he makes them think about things on a deeper level, like, hey, if I can be friends with this guy, do I really want to keep feeling this hatred? Do I want to keep feeling this way? And that guy ended up renouncing his Klan membership, and Daryl realized, oh gosh, like I have the power to influence hearts that are hardened right now. Maybe I could keep doing this. And so he actually would attend Klan meetings and arrange an interview with one of the leaders of the Klan. And eventually he even got, I think it was like around 20 or something, maybe more Klan members to renounce their membership and to change their point of view. And so that really is what, the film is asking that question of, is that possible? Is that kind of unity possible? Is that kind of hope to see one another's perspective possible? And because I'm a very hopeful person, I believe that it is. And so the movie does kind of, without giving away the ending, the movie does give the audience, it takes you through the mud with these really dark, very gritty, real issues. But hopefully by the end of the movie, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and there is hope for unity, even in a time as divided as now.
Right.
So fragmenting the Klan is basically the takeaway of this movie then. Okay, that's cool.
Well,
Yeah.
pray.
And if I could add on to what Matt just said, when just talking about what Daryl, kind of parallel to Daryl Davis, there was also another quote I thought about when we were doing another read through of the script. It was from the late John McCain when he was talking about, promoting the idea that we're more alike than different. And that, for me, that's what my biggest hope and takeaway is from the film, that people get more of a sense that it's okay to be different. It doesn't mean we're any less different.
Yeah. Do you touch in the movie, because we got to go here soon, we've got some more production meeting to do. I know you guys got a ton of stuff to do as well. So I want to kind of end it on this last question here, if I can. Is there anything in the movie that addresses the identity of America? Because we're still a relatively young country, And whenever we are outside of the country, even Americans don't identify themselves as Americans a lot of the time. You know, they'll be like, you know, I'm African American, or I'm Chinese American, or I'm Mexican American. Some of them won't even say American. They'll just be like, well, I'm African, or I'm Chinese, or I'm, you know, whatever. Is there a moment in your movie where um, there is um, an explanation as to who Americans are?
That's a really interesting question. Wow, that's great. Yeah, I think the whole movie is an exploration of those themes and those questions. I don't think there's any definitive answer, because I think as a writer and director, you know, I'm in making a project in 2021, you know, I'm still figuring out what is our identity in America, and I think a lot of people are questioning that. But I do pose the answer in this. I mean, the question in the script, and I think a lot of throughout the story, the identity of America is questioned in different and looked at in different ways, because the majority of the story takes place in this nice little suburb that the kids grew up in, and that's based on my background, you know, growing up in a suburb in San Diego when I was a kid. So it's the identity of the suburb sort of is a microcosm for the identity of America, because you've got these hate crimes happening in this little suburb, being perpetuated by the Klan, and by people like the Klan. And then you've got, you know, you've got crimes that are more like petty crimes, like the car break-ins that are happening, that the Klan is using to try to drive people against people of color, and saying, well, hey, this person of color was caught breaking into cars, they shouldn't be in our neighborhood, right? So you've got this great divide, but yet, ironically, so many people move to the suburbs for you know, a sense of safety and a sense of peace, and on the surface level, that's what people often think of when they think of suburbs. They think of safety, tranquility, setting down roots, you know, starting a family, all of those things that we consider classic Americana, you know, classic American ideals. And yet you're seeing how it's being, how those ideals are being shattered. And when our heroes are saying, hey, well, if superheroes and comic books represent American mythology, then we are basically saving America by like saving our neighborhood, you know. So it's kind of the suburbs as a microcosm for what's really happening right now in America, and looking at it through that sense of identity. And then also, if we do have the professor character, he's the guy who's the mentor to our heroes, and he's the one who philosophizes about the importance of comic books. If he is played by Christoph Waltz, he, you know, like I said, he's one of our top people on the list. There's other people as well. David Hyde Pierce is one of them as well. But if I was just thinking when you asked that question, I was like, if he's played by Waltz, that adds another wrinkle, another little interesting wrinkle and layer to that discussion of America, because you have, you know, someone of European descent, you know, coming over and basically like questioning where we're at from that perspective. So that could add a whole other dimension to it.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your film up on our giant drive-in movie theater film festival series. So
yes, and can we all just like pitch in and buy the ArcLight? Can we buy the Cinerama Dome and get that back, please?
No, we got drive-in movie theaters. We don't need. Yeah, and we could take our theater anywhere. So
I love that. That's good.
If your movie gets a lot of traction in the South and we got 2,000 people want to see it, we could just drive down there with our screen, pop it up in a big field, and then, you know, we can make $100,000 on one or two screens. So
that's really cool. That's so exciting.
We don't need the ArcLight. We've got a mobile drive-in theater, so we're good.
That's all you need. I love that.
Yeah. Where can we find you on the web if people are interested in wanting to, maybe contribute to your fundraiser or look at the trailer? Where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find us. I'm assuming if you guys could post the link in the, underneath the video. We'll have the Indiegogo link.
Actually, if you type the link into the chat,
Oh, sure.
then that way we can have it as part of this program. And then when we do a repost, when we do a replay, we'll just put the link in the description.
Here we go. Okay, so link in the chat. So we'll have the link there for that's for our Indiegogo crowdfunding campaign. It's where you can also check out the trailer. It was really fun shooting that trailer. It was shot all on Super 16 millimeter, which ideally we want to shoot the whole thing on film. Gives it that extra cinematic touch, I think. So it's really fun. Go check out the trailer. Check out our crowdfunding. And there's lots of different perks for being involved in the film if that's something that interests anyone out there watching. And if not, then if you like what you see but you can't contribute, you can always help just by spreading the word, reposting.
Is there a website for the film?
Yeah, it's we actually have our Instagram. That's where we check. It's at Neighborhood Watch Movie. Yeah, at Neighborhood Watch Movie on Instagram.
Okay, perfect. All right. Who do you have playing the Grand Dragon?
If I may, Matthew, before you answer,
Yes.
When you were asking about who like our wish list is, for talent, there were two people I thought that would be fantastic to play the Grand Wizard. One of them was Matthew McConaughey. Yeah, only because of that very commanding, Southern style dialect he puts on for a lot of his characters. I figured he would have been a fantastic selection from the A list, and then from a B list perspective. If you guys ever watch daytime soap operas, Roger Howarth from One Life to Live in General Hospital and As the World Turns would have been an amazing selection.
That's
just
great.
given his popularity he's had as a bad guy for so many years.
Yeah.
Those are my hopefuls. If say that wish list were to come to pass.
Those are really
Those
are fantastic. Those are outside the box. Those are really interesting choices. That's great. Yeah, those are some really great choices. And we mentioned Tom Hardy earlier. I wanted to also just give a shout out while we're talking about the Grand Giant to our amazing actor who played the Grand Giant in the trailer, Jack Vecchio. He is astounding. This guy, he like we said, a lot of it's contingent upon studio casting and all that. But if we were just to kind of work with anyone we want to work with, this guy is amazing. And he's the nicest guy in real life, Jack Vecchio. He's so nice, such a gentleman, such a kind person, and you just love hanging out with him on the set. And yet he was able to, when he was being the character, kind of stay in character at certain times and kind of get the mentality of the guy. And it was really funny because we shot on the day of the Super Bowl, and Jack, he's in this, terrifying costume, and he's like staying in character, in between takes. And then, okay, now it's time to kind of relax and actors, go have lunch or whatever. And he'd just be listening to the Super Bowl, chilling and hanging out with all the actors and stuff.
And further proof that Jack is a nice guy. He gave me a hug yesterday.
I will pass that on to him. I do a podcast with Jack every Tuesday. So
Small world.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
when you were describing it.
So I think you were the one he was doing the podcast with yesterday, because literally when I came over, he was saying he was getting ready to do a podcast.
That was me.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, the three of us did a podcast for almost a year.
Almost a year, yeah.
And it was a sports podcast, but we would always spin off into these social issues, and a lot of them were racially based.
Wow.
And I can remember it was several months ago. He was on the podcast, and he goes, "You know what? I want to present a question to you guys. I got an opportunity to play like a really bad, like Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard dude, and you guys are probably going to see it at some point. So I just want to kind of give you heads up that I'm going to be playing like a racist in this film. So if you get any, pushback on the podcast about it, I just wanted to let you know about it. And the two of us were like, dude, there ain't enough pushback in America we can't handle. You could be a gay Ku Klux Klan transvestite podcast. We cool.
That would be a new one.
Yeah. Grand Wizard goes drag. We whatever, dude. We got you.
That's fantastic. That's so funny. That's hilarious that Jack brought that up to you guys too. Just a warning.
Yeah.
Small world. Matter of fact, you probably can't see it.
Oh, I can see it. Yep.
He was texting to me.
Behind the scenes stuff. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Look how he's just chilling and hanging out with the actors and it's all fake, and when you see it from that point of view, and then you roll camera and he's terrifying. It's great.
Yeah, that picture is really reminiscent to what I did back in 2018 when we were shooting the first edition of the trailer.
Oh yes.
Yes, I was walking around and people, for some reason or other, they thought I was actually at a real Klan rally. I mean,
You're like, are you okay?
Oh yeah, no, I was getting DMs and text messages and people trying to call me. So what are you doing? Are you crazy? I was
yes.
As a conservative, and guys, just know I'm conservative is not me, and I go to Klan rallies for the hell of it.
You know what, Gerren? It's funny you bring that up because I learned that lesson from when we did that shoot. So this time with this shoot, I told all the actors, like Jack and everyone, I was like, you of course, share with your close friends and stuff, but no social media until it all goes. It has to all go through the Neighborhood Watch official, Instagram and stuff, because taken out of context, that would be awful, right? So I put that in the contract for everyone. No social media, please.
Well, I did a 48-hour film like years ago, and we had a chase scene with the gun, and that stirred up quite a ruckus because people were calling the police. It's like, hey, there's a black guy, he chased the guy with a gun. It's like, oh my God, So we didn't really think about that. We're making a movie, but the neighbors and the people don't know we're making a movie.
Oh geez, that's scary.
And because the acting is so good, they think there's a real crime happening in real time. So
yeah,
that's why you get your permits and you get your police on set, and you get especially when it comes to something where it's a fight scene or there's weapons or social issues in the scene.
Yes.
It's best to do those through the city with the police on set because
we actually didn't have that problem when we shot the first edition of the trailer.
Yeah, because there were, we notified the neighbors, but I think there was one neighbor who never got remember the neighbors who came in?
Yeah, he didn't get the memo, and
he didn't get the memo.
He heard them chanting "White Power, White Power, White."
Yeah, they're like, "What's going on over there? Like, what is this? What is happening?" I learned that lesson the hard way. One time I almost got arrested for when I was in high school. I didn't know anything about permits and all that stuff. And me and my buddy, we went to go film a horror movie at school, and it was at night. So we're like, oh, cool, no one's around. Everything's fine. But the neighbors called, and they thought it was a gang fight. And the police came in, and they pointed guns, and they arrested me. And they didn't arrest me, but they put me in cuffs, and they put my friend in cuffs. And we kept telling them, well, we're just making a movie. What's going on? And they didn't believe us. And finally, they just started watching the video. And then they started laughing, and they apologized, and they said, "Oh, let these kids go. They're just making a stupid movie." But then the lady cop was really she was very frightening. She was like, we were 2 seconds away from shooting you, and we could have, that could have happened. So you guys be careful. And I was like, gosh, whoa, that taught me a huge lesson. So I teach film now to kids too, and I always tell them, I'm like, hey, you guys want to go make, movies that deal with violence? Awesome. I'm a cheerleader for violence in cinema, as Tarantino would say, but do it right. Don't get yourself arrested. Don't get yourself, killed,
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to let you guys go back to shooting scenes and getting yourself shot.
Not me.
Well, good luck with the project. I can't wait to see it on the big screen, and we will stay in touch. We'll send this link out to people to give you some financial support on your fundraiser. And I'm glad you were able to carve out a little time to come on Pod Brother Nation and do a little film chat with us. And we'll keep you in our pool of talent for projects that we're doing over here. And we'd like you to keep us in your pool of talent for anything that you might need from us or anything here at the studio.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, you guys, for your time and your incredibly eloquent questions. And that was a great discussion. Thanks, guys. That was awesome.
We'll do it again. We'll do it
Yeah.
again.
Nice meeting you guys.
Take care,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, you
Thank
guys.
Wonderful meeting you all.
So I am Steve Kimbrough, aka the Pod Brother. You can find me at podbrother.com. You can find this show along with others at Pod Brother Nation. And don't forget to tap into the Hollywood Drive-In Film Festivals, because you're going to be able to see films like we just talked about and other films, because we are doing an international call for films on Film Freeway for our Drive-In Film Festival series. The one you don't want to forget is happening in the fall, which is the Pod Zombie Palooza Drive-In Film Festival. It's everything.
I'm there. I love this.
And so we're going to have actual zombies walking around the cars, and we're going to have a complete slate of zombie films for the whole month of October. So don't forget that. So whatever you do, be kind to yourself first so that you can be kind to others, because you know how that feels. All right, guys. Peace out. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.